Hi, everybody. Welcome to week 4. I can't believe we're already in the 4th week of our baby unit. So I want to share my screen with you. There's lots of activities this week. I want you to notice, if you haven't yet, that sometimes the video of the activity is something a little extra in addition to maybe the written part of the activity. So that might be a nice thing to go over with your child, how you have a variety of choices in a way of how you want to approach an activity. And that could be something you do in your pod as well if you'd like. And I also noticed, and I mentioned this in the newsletter, that children have been exploring how do babies change already by talking about clothing. And we will be talking about some of those things this week, but in a different way. We're focusing a little bit on measuring, which is in the DOE unit, and talking about how babies measure their bodies. From the time they're born, from the time you're a child, you're getting measured a lot to see how much you grow, and you grow very fast in a short period of time when you're little. So I'm just going to show you SeeSaw now. Share my screen. And on SeeSaw this week, as you can see, sorry, I have to make my screen a little bit bigger. So I posted just now, I posted for Monday, then and now when I was little. And you will see in the calendar that the activity this week is a reflection on the book we'll read in Monday's meeting called When I Was Little, a 4-year-old's memoir of her youth, where a 4-year-old talks about what life was like when she was small. And she was a baby, according to her perspective. So it'd be nice to hear your perspective too. How do you write a story? Again, pictures, talk to your family. Maybe your family has a story about when you were a baby similar to the story, and you can start it when I was little, this happened. When I was little, this happened. Now that I'm big, this happens. So that's one thing you can do. Another activity that Veri does in this video is she takes a baby picture and a picture of her as an older child and compares them. So that's something you could try too if you have physical pictures. If you don't, that's okay too. You can still talk about when I was little and now that I'm big and tell that story. Tuesday, we're measuring lots of different ways to do this. Again, the way in the video is really not the way we're talking about in the description, but it's another way to approach it if you want to try to measure your hands and feet or use cutouts of your feet as tools. So you're going to think about the size of things now compared to when you were little. You're going to see if you have old clothes or shoes in your home. Also, at Tuesday's meeting, you could bring a medical form if you have one, or look at one before the meeting and see like the most earliest one you can remember and how much that like their first appointment you had with your baby or your child, and how much they were measured and how big they are now. Cut those pieces of yarn and bring those yarns with you to the meeting, or ribbon or string, or so we can compare the lengths. And then the activity you can do is just look at the clothing you have and measure those clothes compared to the clothes you have now. That might be fun too. So different ways to do it. There are a lot of ways we can measure our bodies and parts of our bodies. And what did you discover in those activities? And also different things we can use to measure things, right? String, yarn, ribbon, any household item, really, tape. Work on your science journal. If you haven't created a science journal yet, that's okay. This is the same video of how to create one. I'm going to make a new one for next week that'll talk about how you can do chick observations if you want to do that. I did post a video in the email with chicks, so you can use that to kind of start your science journal and wait till Wednesday, or you could start looking today and just make a picture and maybe add that to your science journal when you create it. But if you've already created one, Wednesdays is about adding the chicks or adding some new information to your science journal. There's a new video about making a timeline with Kate. This is a fun activity. You can do this in a variety of ways. So one way that you can do it is the way Kate does it in the video, where she uses real objects, but you can also just take a big piece of paper and draw it out, or stick a bunch of pieces of paper together and create a timeline. And this is really a family activity in a lot of ways, talking about like the moments that were important to you from the time you're very small until now, and how you've grown, thinking about the ways you've grown and how you understand the world, right? Feelings Friday. What happens to our things when we're done with them, right? When we're done using them. This is all about that. I'm reading a longer book called The Little Red Stroller in this video, which I really hope you listen to. It's a lovely book. I hope you're able to get it too. It's all about this stroller that gets passed down through the generations of different families, and how it's utilized. And it's not only about how babies and people get around day to day, especially in cities, but it's also about sharing and what happens to all these things as we get bigger. We grow out of clothes, we grow out of our strollers. What happens to all these things, right? And what happens to us? And do we miss these things? Do eventually we move on to new things, right? It's all about change. And that's this week. I really hope you enjoy it. I really enjoy the baby unit, and I'm looking forward to transformation. We'll be looking at butterflies soon, but right now I'm really excited for you guys to see the chicks. Let us know what you think. Um, yeah, so when you look at that chick video, let us know, and we're happy to show you more. We're having one family take them home this weekend, so and then they'll be back again next week. So we'll have them for a few weeks, and we'll watch them grow. All right. I really hope you have a great weekend, and talk to you soon.